Welcome to Wallace on Wire. Today we're talking about the netizen reaction towards Henry Teoh's proposal to increase the subsidized petrol quota.
Yeah, this has definitely stirred up a lot of conversation, hasn't it? Especially around the BUDI95 petrol subsidy program. So just to set the stage, this program currently gives the lower income group, what we call the B40, a subsidized petrol quota capped at 300 liters per month.
Okay, so let's get into the proposal itself. Henry Teoh, who's the Selangor chairman for the Malaysian People's Movement Party, didn't just suggest a small tweak. He threw out a really eye-popping number.
He did. He proposed raising that monthly cap from 300 liters way up to 800 liters.
800, that's quite a jump. What was his reasoning for such a drastic increase?
Well, his argument is that the current 300 liters just isn't enough for, the average person commuting for work.
He gave a pretty specific example, too, didn't he? A typical Malaysian commute.
He painted a picture of someone traveling daily from Klang to Kuala Lumpur for their job.
Okay, a common route.
Right. And he pointed out that someone doing that kind of mileage would likely need to fill up maybe 4 times in just 3 weeks. They'd blow through the 300-liter subsidized quota well before the month is over.
And then what happens once they hit that limit?
Then they're stuck paying the higher non-subsidized price, which is around, what, RM 2.60 per liter currently?
Ah, okay.
So Henry Teoh's point is that the RM 4 billion the government claims it's saving with the current policy.
Yeah.
He argues that cost is basically just being pushed onto the B40 group, who end up paying more for fuel anyway.
That's an interesting take. He's basically challenging the whole savings narrative, saying it's not a real gain for the country, just the poor paying the difference.
Exactly. So in his view, bumping it up to 800 liters is the only way to genuinely ease the financial pressure on lower-income households.
And he didn't stop there, did he? There was a bit of a political edge to his comments.
Oh, definitely. It got quite heated. He essentially laid down a challenge, saying if the government doesn't adopt this 800-liter idea, they're going to lose the next general election. He even suggested his party, the Malaysian People's Movement Party, should be ready to take over.
Wow. Okay, so that kind of direct political threat really put the proposal under the microscope. And the public reaction online, it shifted pretty quickly from just interest to, well, a lot of skepticism and even ridicule, right? Why was that?
The main issue, and what almost everyone online jumped on immediately, was the basic arithmetic. It just didn't seem to add up.
Let's break that down.
Okay, so let's do the calculation that countless netizens pointed out. If you use 800 liters of RN95 petrol in a month, even at the subsidized price of RM 1.99 per liter, your total fuel bill comes out to RM 1592 ringgit.
RM 1592, just on petrol, that's a staggering amount.
It really is. Now, compare that figure to Malaysia's current minimum wage, which is RM 1700 ringgit per month. So if someone in the B40 income bracket, potentially earning minimum wage, is spending RM 1592 just on petrol, they're left with less than RM 110 for everything else. Rent, food, utilities, basic necessities. How is that possible?
Yeah, it doesn't compute. So the immediate conclusion from the public was pretty logical. If you actually need or can somehow afford 800 liters of petrol a month, you almost certainly don't belong in the B40 low-income category.
People online were quite blunt about it. You saw comments like, are B40 folks drinking petrol now? Or, more directly, if you spend RM 1600 on petrol, you're not B40.
Yeah.
That kind of sarcasm really highlighted how out of touch the proposal seemed with the economic reality for many Malaysians.
Okay, so setting aside the cost for a moment, what about the sheer distance?
Yeah.
800 liters represents a huge amount of driving, doesn't it? Far beyond a typical commute.
Absolutely. Based on standard fuel consumption for a regular car, 800 liters would let you drive somewhere between 8,000 kilometers and maybe 10,400 kilometers in a single month.
8,000 kilometers. What does that even look like in Malaysia?
Well, put it this way. It's roughly equivalent to driving back and forth between Kangar up north and Tanjung Piai down south about 12 times in 1 month.
12 round trips across the entire peninsula. I mean, you have to ask yourself, does your monthly commute even come close to that kind of astronomical figure? It sounds more like a full-time taxi driver or maybe a long-haul logistics operator.
And that extreme mileage figure immediately led to the other major concern raised online, the potential for abuse and specifically fuel smuggling.
Right. That's a huge policy consideration. Setting the limit that high could feel like basically giving a green light to petrol smuggling, couldn't it?
That's the fear, and it's a very valid one. A genuine B40 family might only need, say, 300, maybe 400 liters a month. If they suddenly have an 800-liter quota, well, there's a massive financial incentive to sell off the extra subsidized fuel.
So the subsidy ends up benefiting black market operators, not the people it's intended for.
Exactly. The worry is that this huge amount of subsidized fuel leaks out, lining the pockets of smugglers instead of helping low-income households.
So if the proposal went through, the government wouldn't really be subsidizing the poor, they'd be subsidizing, well, fuel resellers. It's no surprise, then, that there was quite a bit of criticism directed not just at Henry Teoh, but at his party, the Malaysian People's Movement Party, suggesting maybe this proposal showed a lack of basic research or common sense.
Yes, comments like that definitely surfaced. Things like lack of talent, talking without thinking, or questioning why the party seems to struggle politically. This kind of backlash is obviously damaging for a party trying to gain ground. The general feeling seemed to be that throwing out such an unrealistic number felt more like a political stunt than a serious attempt to understand or address people's actual needs.
Now, although that 800-liter figure grabbed all the headlines, Henry Teoh did actually make another policy suggestion that was perhaps a bit more grounded.
That's right. Lost in the noise about petrol, he also touched upon another issue affecting local businesses, particularly small and medium enterprises, or SMEs.
What was that about?
He talked about the new government policy requiring employers to contribute 2% towards the Employees' Provident Fund, EPF, for their foreign workers. He urged the government to postpone implementing this.
And his reasoning for delaying the EPF contributions for foreign workers.
He argued that, especially with the economy still recovering, this adds an extra financial burden on local SMEs. But perhaps more significantly, he raised concerns about capital outflow, the risk that if foreign workers can easily withdraw their EPF contributions, large amounts of money could leave the country.
Okay, that sounds like a more complex economic argument. Did he offer any comparisons?
He did, actually. He brought up Singapore as an example, which provides a bit more depth to his point.
How so?
He noted that while Singapore also mandates EPF-like contributions for foreign workers, they have a crucial restriction. The funds generally can't be withdrawn until the worker reaches the age of 50. This structure, he argued, helps manage and limit immediate large-scale capital outflow.
That comparison, focusing on the structural differences in managing capital, certainly sounds more thought out, more, well, policy-focused than the 800-liter idea. It's a shame it got completely overshadowed.
It really does illustrate how, in political discourse, sometimes one extreme headline-grabbing number can drown out a potentially more nuanced or complex policy discussion.
So let's try to wrap this up. We've seen that while the intention behind Henry Teoh's proposal, wanting to better support the B40 group, is understandable, the specific recommendation of 800 liters just doesn't seem to hold up against basic Malaysian economic realities.
Not really, no. It invited ridicule and, more seriously, raised very real concerns about facilitating large-scale fuel smuggling.
Yeah.
But it does leave us with a lingering, more difficult question, doesn't it? If we accept that maybe the current 300-liter cap is a bit tight for some genuine B40 commuters with long distances to cover, as Henry Teoh initially argued,
Right.
and if 800 liters is clearly unrealistic and prone to abuse, then where's the sweet spot? Is it 400 liters? 500? What's the data-driven figure that truly helps the intended group without creating massive loopholes? How do you separate genuine need from potential commercial exploitation?
That's the million-dollar or maybe the multi-billion ringgit question for policymakers, isn't it? Finding that balance.
It absolutely is. It requires careful study,
Yeah.
not just headline figures.
A really important point to consider moving forward.
Indeed.
Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.